Dune Awakening is getting a pretty monumental bug fix soon, one that will doubtless change how the game is played. The repair bug is going away, but in its wake, should Funcom change how repairing gear works? Let's discuss. For a good while now, the repair bug has been a regularly used fixture in Dune. It essentially allowed you to repair items for free, also removing the permanent durability loss from traditional repairing. This bug is being removed in an upcoming update, something that has caused a lot of debate and controversy. As for myself, I actually didn't know about this bug until about a week before making this video. As a solo player who's actually never used the bug, I've had a lot of experience with the repair system, so I want to give you an idea of what you can expect, but also what I think Funcom should do to soften the blow, because the system as it is right now isn't perfect. So when the fix comes in, what can you expect? Well, if you've relied on the bug up until now, you'll be in for a bit of a surprise when it comes to the demands of repairing and maintaining gear in the intended way. Aluminium, duraluminium, plastanium, cobalt paste, muscarette drops, spice-infused metal, the need for those resources are going to skyrocket, especially if you're playing a lot. Even if you invest in the durability and repair boosting perks, which I highly recommend if you're a solo like me, your demands are just going to rise, there's no way around it. That being said, some things are going to be hit a lot harder than others. Power packs, suspensor belts and shields are big ones. You'll use these almost everywhere, so expect to repair and replace them regularly. Gutter rays too, though they're not as bad as the aforementioned. Welding torches just get melted currently, they're really bad, and an item that does take a surprising amount of durability damage is the compactor. I recently built a Mark 6 Omni-Static compactor, and I gotta be honest, I kinda don't like using it because harvesting spice or flower sand just eats through the durability bar. This is not as bad on some other compactors, but across the board, they all feel a bit weak. This upcoming fix will absolutely have an effect on not only what you or your guild needs to produce, but it will also have an effect on the market. All of the resources I mentioned earlier will be in higher demand, which could increase the price for them on the exchange. Unique schematics should also generally become more valuable, as even with the repair and durability perks, there will come a time that you just can't repair a unique item anymore and it needs to be replaced. I think you'll probably also see Mark 5 schematics rise in price, not just plastanium. I'm not sure about Mark 4 or below, I don't really see them going up that much, but they may get a small knock-on effect. When this bug fix does come in, it will take a while to get a proper scope of how it feels. I expect most people will have an immediate visceral reaction to it, but after it's become normalised, it might not be that bad. However, I do think Funcom need to make some adjustments. To preface this, I don't really like permanent durability damage at all, but I think it's a necessary evil for the game's design. Without it, assuming you don't die to a sandstorm or the worm, your endgame uniques are basically permanent. That is not good for a game with a player-driven economy, and it's not good for an endgame that relies on farming unique schematics as one of its core loops, so unfortunately, I don't think removing permanent durability loss is a good idea, despite the fact that I really don't like it as a mechanic. What I do think needs to be done is adjusting the durability loss on some items, especially the most used ones. Power packs, shields and suspensors could probably do with a bit of tweaking. They're not too bad with the durability perks, but without them I imagine they'd be quite miserable to use if you're playing a lot. They are the 3 most used items, so naturally they will decay fast, but I think they will need some careful touches to bolster their durability a bit, so you're not just replacing or repairing them all the time. Another big offender is the welding torch. To be fair, these are quite cheap to make, but they feel like they just don't last 5 minutes. A few vehicle repairs and my torch is nearly broken. It just doesn't feel good, and I don't see much of a reason for them to be so fragile. In my view, they need a huge buff. The static compactor is another big one for me. They just burn so quickly. There is a trade-off here. Compactors do enable you to get flower sand and spice, 2 very valuable resources, but I think they do need to be looked at. The Mark 6 compactor I use feels like it really doesn't last all that long, considering the effort actually going into getting all the resources for it. 1 spice run around Hugger, and I've already lost a fair bit of durability, which just doesn't feel good, so much so that it actually feels better to use cheaper compactors instead. Overall, static compactors I think definitely need some love. There is something to be said about durability loss on death too. From what I hear, this is a significant factor in PvP. I'm not a PvP player, so I can't and frankly won't pretend to be able to accurately represent the situation there, but from what I've seen it is apparently quite considerable, which is partly why the repair bug saw heavy usage amongst PvP players. Again, I can't speak for them, but if the PvP players think the durability loss on death is a bit too harsh in PvP, that might need to be looked at. I also do worry a bit about how the changes will affect PvP. On one hand, people will need more spice metal and blueprints, so that should encourage PvP on paper, though the risk of durability loss on gear and vehicles now has to be rectified and considered when entering into PvP scenarios. I think that could ultimately negatively affect people's openness to take those risks in PvP zones. That's something that kinda needs to be seen how it plays out. I ultimately err a little bit on the side of it increasing PvP overall, but I could be wrong. The things I would like to see Funcom do immediately are quite simple. Power packs, suspensors, welding torches, shields and compactors all need a durability buff of varying levels. I just think they all drain too quickly, and while some of them should do because you use them a lot, it's just not enjoyable to burn through them as fast as you currently do, especially if you're a very active player. After this update releases, I'm pretty sure Funcom will be gathering impressions and data. I've seen other creators say this, and I agree. I'd expect to see changes to the durability system after this fix, and I would like Funcom to really hone in on what the player base is saying in terms of dissatisfactions with aspects of the durability system and the repairing feature. Though the current system is how the game is intended to be played, that doesn't mean it always feels the best, so taking action and feedback for both PvP and PvE players is vital. As for how to adapt, it won't be an easy adjustment if you've relied just on the repair bug thus far, but it also won't be the end of the world. You'll probably need to farm some more resources. If you've not seen a titanium or a jasmium node in a while and have been relying on the bug, you're probably going to have to get the old cut array back out. Fortunately, farming duraluminum, aluminium and even plastanium isn't that hard, even as a solo. Make sure you're stocking up on cobalt paste too. You'll run through a fair amount of it on repairs. Fortunately, it is really easy to get. Same with silicon blocks. Burning compactors super quick on flower sand will be a bit of a pain, but it's necessary. One thing that could be an issue is spice. Your spice demands will increase because you'll need to repair things that presumably have used spice in their creation, especially tier 6 gear, so you may need to either produce more spice overall, or maybe transition some of your less essential gear to versions of that gear that don't require spice to repair. Where you might want to change things up a little is how you handle uniques. Personally, any rare or useful uniques like a compact compactor, tile cut array, Mark 6 power packs and stuff, I'm saving that for when I really need it. If I'm just going out to farm flower sand, I'm leaving my rare gear at home and using stuff that doesn't require spice metal, melange and so on. I'll also generally save stuff like my best armour, shield and weapons for the deep desert. That won't see much use in Haga Basin because the durability damage just isn't necessary. It's better off saved for more challenging content. This extends to activities using tools too. If you're hunting shipwrecks, just use a basic power pack and a salvaged cut array, and if you're digging up buried treasure, a basic compactor is all you need. You don't want to waste your high tier gear. Lastly, a general rule I always keep in mind is to try and use any tool I create to at least get back the resources I use to craft it. You'll probably do that without thinking really, but keeping that in mind just helps to negate the costs and helps to build good farming habits. To wrap things up, the fix to the repair bug is coming, which may have already happened depending on when you're watching this video. We don't currently know when the patch will come, but likely soon as of the time of recording. For you, things will definitely get a little harder on Arrakis, but it's certainly not a game-breaking change. It will most likely hit solo players the hardest, but it's nothing that a couple of good habits can't overcome. The biggest change you'll have to make is making sure you're not wasting durability on your most valuable gear. Don't use your rare cut array to chop open shipwrecks, don't dig up buried treasure with a Mark 6 compactor, and don't use your unique plastanium gear on mid-game enemies in Haga Basin. Tier 5 and 6 blueprints will likely become more valuable, and some players will have to become more comfortable with not using endgame gear in every single situation, but this incoming fix is probably better for the overall health of the game and its economy. Within a month or so, I do expect Funcom will be making some changes to the durability system, and after the initial shell shock of things wears off, I think most people will get used to it quite quickly. Do let me know your thoughts on this incoming fix. It will have some pretty large and immediate repercussions for a lot of people, but overall, again, I think it's a positive change to something that objectively should be fixed. I do hope Funcom listens to the feedback and makes some adjustments to the durability system in the near future. Anyway, that will wrap us up. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the videos, do check out the Patreon page through the link in the description. There's early access to videos, wallpapers, video credits, build blueprints and much more, and joining us helps out the channel massively. On that note, a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. Again, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.